We're going to cover navigation of the C1000 monitor in a MT600D tractor. We have our encoder dial here, and then we have our soft keys on the side. We have a home button, we have an isobus button, and an escape button. To navigate through the different settings in the monitor, we simply turn our encoder dial. You'll notice that it highlights the boxes on the screens. This is our work screen. This is the screen you will go into to do most of your setup of your tractor functions. This is task controller if you wanted to set up tasks for recording data. This is your memories or your jobs. This is the settings screen where you can go in and set time, date, that type of thing. And this is your camera settings. We're going to start today by going into the tractor settings. Simply, you'll notice on the screen as it comes up, you have miles per hour, RPM, we have our engine speed, A and B, PTO speed, percent slip, and our SV1 and SV2 speeds show up on the main screen. You notice as I toggle the encoder, it highlights the top of each box. We're going to go into the work screens and walk through each one. The first one is our transmission screen. You select the transmission screen, it shows up here. If you want to go in and make changes to the transmission screen, simply press the soft key next to the top button. We have our reversion, which is our responsiveness on our shuttle control, and then we have cruise control or SV1 responsiveness, pedal up responsiveness, and then we have our road supervisor or engine supervisor, and then we have PTO supervisor. What each of these functions do, the reversion responsiveness is the setting at which you will slow the tractor down or speed the tractor up using the shuttle control. Cruise control is how responsive the engagement of the cruise control button will be. Pedal responsiveness, how aggressive you want it to be when you let up on the pedal if you're in pedal mode. Next, road supervisor. This allows the engine to lug down, and it will sacrifice engine speed for ground speed. And PTO supervisor allows the PTO, if there is a drop in the percent of PTO at 5%, it'll slow the transmission down to let the RPMs pick back up. Hit escape, and next we will go to the next screen is our power management screen. Select that. In this screen we can tie our power management. We can set the minimum idle or the maximum idle, and we also have a work trigger in there. We have several different work triggers that we can choose from. And then to set your minimum idle, you can highlight it, push it in, and adjust it. And what that will allow you to do is you can have a set minimum idle and a maximum, and it will allow your engine RPMs to work within that parameter when you have power management engaged. Next is our one touch screen. And in order to activate one touch, we must go back to the home screen, come over to our memories. One of the first things you want to do is make sure that we have a memory turned on, and we can see that by a green calculator highlighted in the upper left hand corner. In this instance, the memory is not turned on. To do that, we simply push the start button and it will engage the memory. So now our memory is turned on. I hit escape and it takes me right back to my headland screen. To set up headland, simply push the button next to the headland sequence. And I have buttons on the side. This is for manual setup. This is for auto. This one is the time between each sequence. We want to set that about 0.6 seconds. And then this button allows for the one touch to be displayed on your screen on the left hand side. So let's set up a simple one touch sequence here. First of all, we want to do what we're going to do, the function we're going to perform first as we go into the field. So we will simply scroll over to our hydraulics, select number 1. Next we could select our cruise control, so our ground speed, select 1, SV1. So that's a simple sequence. We're going to put a pause in there. That's the first section of our sequence. Next, as we come to the headland, we want to put in the opposite of that. We're going to raise our implement, and next we're going to go to the cruise controller SV1, SV2 setting, which would be your slower setting, and then put in a pause. That is the very simple sequence. And in order to activate this sequence, we escape out of there. I need to delete that. Okay, we escape, and then we hit the start button, and now our headland sequence or one touch is active. Next, we select, we're going to go into hydraulic setup. We select our hydraulic menu, and we have our soft touch buttons on the side. Simply hit the button, and we can go in and set up our, select the flow that we would like. There's a button at the top that allows us to decrease it in 25% increments. So that allows you to get down, and then you can fine-tune the flow if you want it to be at 30%. Just go that way, hit your check mark, and we're set. Want to make sure that when you go into a tractor, make sure that all the hydraulics are set to emit like 50% flow, so that we're not blowing hoses and stuff. As we go down, we can unlock float or lock float by pressing this button. This locks out our kick out, our time. This one is our continuous flow that we have it set on right now. If I select this, it will allow me to set up a kick out time, or time that your hydraulics will run. And if we wanted to, we could press this, it would record a time, so when you have an implement on, it would hit this button and then activate your cylinder, and it would raise the implement and it would record how long it took to do that. So, and you can go through and set up each hydraulic. Setting them down to 50% flow. That's the functionality or the navigation of the hydraulic system. You notice we're just going to select. Next we go to our instant screen. This will allow you to record what you're performing right now, the fuel consumption, acres per hour, your gallons per hour, gallons per acre, the miles that you put on the tractor, the gallons used, and the acres that you've covered. We have, this is just a counter on the side here. It performs no function other than to count, if you wanted to count rounds or count pheasants for that matter. Next we have our width of implement. If you were only going to run 3/4 of your implement, you'd select this. and hit it 3 times, and you would be recording 3/4 of the width of your implement. So this just shows the functions that you can go into. When you hit this, it brings, actually we're at our memory screen, so we can set up our memory here. So it's all tied together. We go back. Next is our average screen. It just shows the average fuel consumption and acres that you have performed on the tractor. Next one is efficiencies. You could put in costs, fuel cost and labor costs to get you your efficiencies, how efficient your tractor or your operators are running the tractor. Next we'll go to engine, and here we can have our preset engine speeds. We have engine speed A and engine speed B. We can set them at any speed that we want. Next, you'll notice we have the max engine speed. This would be set at 1400, so it ties to your throttle. And if we had this checked with a green mark, that would be the max that our throttle would go to. And I will demonstrate here. We're set at 1400. Our idle RPM right now is 990. I am going to throttle up. And I have our throttle wide open, and we're hovering around 1400. Simply turn that check mark off. You may get a call from time to time from customers that something's wrong, and that's the first place to look. Engine memory sensitivity. This would be, use this in the case of a PTO application. When you engage your PTO, the engine will respond. 4 would be very aggressive, 3 less aggressive, 2 and 1 would be less aggressive. So 2 to 3 is a good setting for this engine memory sensitivity. And then we have our hitch control. We are showing our percent slip. So we have 15% slip. So if we have a mounted implement here and we start to slip 15%, it'll raise our implement out of the ground to reduce that slip. It is turned off right now, but simply hitting the button here will engage that. You can set your max slip here and your hitch priority versus from the 3-point to hydraulics. We can see what percent we are at on our height of our hitch. We're down 8%. Next is a dual control. If the tractor had a front PTO or front 3-point, we could tie dual control with a 3-point or hydraulics. So you're just going to assign the front control and the rear control. Next is points, which is a function we don't use. That is a brief overview of our TMC C1000 navigation.